Good morning, everybody. I see everybody starting to come in. Hey, before we go any further and start talking and like, oh, I can't hear them. Hey, if you don't mind putting in the chat where you're from, so that way I know that you can hear me and see me. And I just want to welcome everybody to our property tour. Hopefully, you can see our screen. Oh, it's going to be a good one today. All right. So, yes, you can hear me. All right. So, we got somebody all the way from New York. This is really awesome. I'm actually in the state of Virginia. So we have folks from all over the United States, real estate investors, the ones who want to get started, ones who are thinking about it, and ones who's already doing it and they want to take their game to the next level, who are going to be here today. So this is going to be really awesome that you're going to see. So we got Cincinnati. Oh yeah, Scott, the the founder of this movement that we have on Zoom, and he allows me to participate. Thank you, Scott. Hey, we got Southern Delaware here. We got Maryland showing up, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., all the way from Seattle, Washington. They got some good coffee there too. Hey, we got Detroit in the house all the way. Hey, Bobby. Hey, good to see you too. So we got more people coming in. Hey, this is a live meeting. So what does that mean? We're going to ask you that you stay muted, but there's going to be a lot of information shared. So you may want to ask a question, or you're thinking you want to ask a question. You can. What we ask you to do is just put it in the chat. That's why I like for y'all to, first make sure that you can hear me, and then you're using the chat system to put where you are, so you know how to use it when you have a question that comes up. Because we have other folks who are coming in from Chicago. Now, normally when we have somebody from New Jersey, somebody from New York shows up too. So I'm just wondering if that's going to show up, if anybody from New York is going to show up. But again, I am so glad that you're here. I am so excited. Hopefully you have, a Merry Christmas. We're getting ready for New Year and we're about to close out 2024. Oh my goodness, this has been awesome. A whole year of property tours, real estate investors in the mix, and they're currently right now. So, what does that mean? As we are talking today, our volume may go up and down. We may glitch there. This is not like, movie production. This is real investors getting together, sharing content, want you to really take charge of what you want to do in 2025. But look at what we did in 2024. And we have an awesome speaker who's going to tell us some strategies behind the success of what he has done, as you can see the flyer. So we got some more folks still coming on from California. There we go. Now I feel a little bit better. So we got, now we got the West Coast starting to come in also. Oh, good morning, Roya. Oh, yeah. So we got some more folks coming in. Ah, yes, I see some New Jersey folks coming in. I see some Philly folks starting to come in as they getting their system together. Oh man. Hey Scott, I know that people are starting to come on. And I know we got a lot of content. So as people start to come in, like we have Loretta's coming in from Dumfries, Virginia, we have some more people are starting to come in, like Atlanta's coming in, Scott, because everybody is like really charged up because they heard about today and how you're going to talk about the featured investor and what he has done. And so I don't want to take up too much time because I think the system is up and running. I'm just looking back and forth. Yes, people are using the chat. And I will ask one more thing for everybody who's coming on today. Please don't solicit anything. This hour is really, really important for a lot of people. We got people from the East Coast, West Coast, and some folks I see who hasn't put in the chat who outside of the country who's also here. So please just make sure that we, take this time to hear from our investor who took time out of his day, which now I'm gonna turn over to you, Scott. If you don't mind, Scott, coming on out.
Well, Keith, what a great introduction way to kick everything off today. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Well, Keith, I know you feel the same way I do. We've been blessed to do quite a few property tours this year, and this is the wrap up of 2024. It's been a fantastic year. We've been doing these property tours now live on Zoom for 4.5 years. So next summer we'll be at our 5 year mark. So it's just been a fantastic ride. We love doing them. As we're a national community of investors, we love to collaborate. We love to work together, play together, learn together, and grow our businesses together. And it's just been an amazing year. I've seen folks who got started in the last couple of years start doing deals this year. They're part of our community, so that's always exciting to see that happen. We've actually featured a few of them this year on these Zoom property tours. And it's so satisfying to see people get started, take education, improve their skill set, their knowledge, and start doing deals. And today we have one of our I don't know. There's just so many accolades I could give this gentleman, but I've known Bob since I got involved in this community 9 years ago. Bob played such an intricate role for me personally, getting involved in real estate investing and getting involved in this community as I made a drive one September day right before Labor Day 9 years ago. Well, actually, it's been a little over 9 years now, up to Chicago to meet him and about 300 plus investors. And I just popped in on him, and it was the best decision I ever made. So, without further ado, Bob, can you come on out and let's get this thing started?
Hey Scott, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you and see you really well. Bob, thank you for coming out and sharing an hour or so of your time and really helping us wrap up 2024 and kick off 2025.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege, as always, to get to spend some time with you. And man, 2024 has been an amazing year, more opportunity in our lives than we've ever had before. And it's also been a challenging year from some respects, and just, watching people kind of holding on, waiting to see what was going to happen with the election and everything that we went through. So I'm going to take about an hour, and you would ask me to, wrap up 2024 and share about, why we're so excited about 2025. And I know I have one of my business partners on our webinar today, so I'm excited to, to just talk about property tours. Why do we do this? First of all, my story as a contractor, I always saw other people make money and I worked for them. I always wondered what I needed to know or learn to become a successful investor myself. And I'm about to celebrate the 19th anniversary of meeting the gentleman that introduced me to this program, this organization, and getting into real estate investing literally in about 2 weeks. So it was January of 2006. I saw a yellow sign with black ink in a white snowbank, literally on the block that I live, and I called that ad, I called that sign, and I ended up going to a meeting and ended up at a real estate workshop in March of that year. And in 2 days, everything I believed to be true about real estate, it was blown away. Right? I thought I needed money for a down payment on a house. I thought I needed to have good credit to have my credit checked to get a mortgage. Right? And I learned all these things that I just didn't know that I didn't know. And within a year, I quit my job, and we've never looked back. So, just my background really quick. I started off in construction at 19 years old. I put myself through college at DePaul University doing construction. In the year 2000, I started my own remodeling company. And this is a before picture, a during picture. And yes, you can tell this was a long time ago because my hair was still black.
Bob, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, well, then we should change that. There we go. We good?
It's coming up right now. There we go. We can see
All
you
right.
now.
All right. So as I was sharing, I started off in construction at 19. Ended up getting my own remodeling company started eventually, and it took me until the year 2000. I was 30 that year. A before picture, a during picture of a loft at North and Western. Here's some after pictures. Stainless steel aircraft suspension cables and hand chiseled granite mantles and backsplashes and really cool stuff. Right. I got to do some awesome projects, and I made about $30,000 on this property. The investor made over a quarter million from the time that he bought it to rehabbing it to renting it out and owning this home for years. And it started the wheels spinning in my own mind. And then this house came along. This is a 13-bedroom, 7-bathroom home built in 1893 with an elevator shaft right here. Kind of cool to have an elevator today, much less 1893. This property was bought for 375, completely gut rehabbed. And when it was finished, it appraised for the construction was 1.1 million. Upon completion, it appraised for 2.2 million. And when I took this picture, it was worth 2,450,000. And here's some of the interior pictures of that project that we did. And I asked the question, who made $700,000 on this property? And the answer to that is not me, right? I was the guy with the tool belt strapped around my waist. And not only did he create $700,000 in equity, he didn't sell it and he rented it out for 10,000 a month, which created about $5,000 a month in positive cash flow. So this was the experience that I had in my own life that inspired me to want to get into real estate. And I saw a whole bunch of things in those early years, and this probably was one of the most impactful. And basically, this is called the cash flow quadrant. We start off as employees, which I was, right? I became self-employed as a contractor, right? I then decided to get some training and education on how to build a business of my own, which I started that process in about 2006, and then became an investor. And this is a path that many of us follow in our lives. And if you are, if you're here as an employee, I assert that you can skip the self-employed part. I thought I had a company, right? I thought I owned a remodeling company. My remodeling company owned me, was the truth. And I'm very grateful for the training that I engaged in with this organization that helped me to understand the distinction and the difference. So as I got started in real estate, I learned fundamentally, and I'm not going to go over all these strategies today, but fundamentally, what does a real estate investor do? Well, first of all, we acquire properties, right? We can wholesale and subject to, and we can buy houses out of foreclosure and buy them at auction. There's all kinds of ways that we can acquire real estate. We can also make money in a bunch of different ways. So I can be a wholesaler. I can fix and flip. I can buy and hold. I can do short-term rentals. And today I'm going to talk about some of those things. So I used to think that the money was the hard part of real estate, but actually the money is the easiest part of real estate investing. And when I first heard that, I was like, come on, that sounds too good to be true. But I was coming from my perspective of being broke, living check to check, and having bad credit and no money in the bank, right? Which was my experience of my youth, to understanding that if I can learn what to do with real estate, if I can learn its highest and best use and how to create profit, if I can learn how to acquire properties at discounts, then raising capital becomes a very easy thing. And we've bought 3 houses since June, and we're also just broke ground on building 2 houses that I'm going to show off today. But once I learned, right, the mathematics of analyzation that helped me understand how to create profitability as a real estate investor and what to do with real estate deals, and I also learned how to generate leads of off-market properties, which I'm going to touch on this morning. I learned how to acquire them. The raising capital becomes very easy, right? And I love creative financing. 2 of the properties that we bought this year, we bought subject to leaving the existing financing in place. We basically took over the mortgage. I love that strategy right now. One of the mortgages that we took over is 3.25%. The other one is 5%. If I would have had to borrow money, I would have had to go pay 7 or 7.5, even 8% for a non-owner occupied mortgage on that property, and I would have had to bring a 10 or 20% down payment, right? So now we're taking over mortgages without any down payments, without having our credit checked, and it's one of my favorite strategies. My favorite one on the funding list is actually corporate credit. And one of the reasons it's my favorite is because when I started my journey, my personal credit score was not good, right? My daughter was born the month I turned 20. I had to choose in my 20s whether to feed my daughter or pay my visa bill. And she just turned 35, so I made the right decision. And uh, my credit was bad, right? And so I learned that I could start a corporation or an LLC that gets an EIN number, and I could start the process of building credit inside of that entity and repair my personal credit at the same time. It's one of the most valuable things I've ever learned, and I've now been helping coach people on building their own corporate credit for many years. And becoming a transactional engineer is the fundamental to all of real estate investing. Now, this screen right here is a software platform that we use. I've been using it for 10 years. And all I can tell you is I wish they would have had something like this when I started my journey into real estate investing. And Uh, I do a full overview of this on Monday night, so I'm not going to get into the functionality of all of it. But basically, it is a system that allows us to run our real estate investment company from A to Z, from marketing, websites to a contact database and a property database that includes a CRM system, to an entire marketing library, which allows me to market both online using Facebook ads or offline using postcards and letters and different things, to the ability to search property leads all over the country. So, for example, I could just type in Cook County here and check this box, and it will find all of the residential property in Cook County, which is about 1.4 million properties. And from here, I could say, show me the ones that are in pre-foreclosure. And so there's 16,000 properties in pre-foreclosure in Cook County at this time. And from here, I can sort through this information. One of my favorite things is to sort by interest rate. So I could say out of these 16,000 properties, who has 5% or below interest rates, I've got 6,607. So these 6,000 properties in Cook County are 5% or below interest rates, and they're currently in pre-foreclosure. Right from here, I could use artificial intelligence and say, all right, who are the people that score 600 or above on a scale of 1 to 1,000, the most likely to wholesale in the next 90 days? And if I type in 600 or above, that number is now 2,600. So these 2,600 properties are in pre-foreclosure. They have 5% or below interest rates, and they're most likely to wholesale out of the 16,000 properties that are currently in this area. And so this is a very powerful tool that we use to find our deals. Now, once we find our real estate deals, then what? All right. So now I'm picking what I want to do. So the first property I will share is a property that we acquired, and this is a property that we bought subject to for $200,000. And if we pull our comps here, this property right now, if we did an analysis of the actual property itself, it says its AVM is 351,000. And what the computer doesn't know is that we rehabbed it. So I bought it, we put about 20,000 into it, we rehabbed this property, and now it is, and we decided to keep it as a short-term rental. So this property was bought in June. It took about 5 weeks to rehab. It's right now worth about 375,000 with the money that we put into it, and it's generated over $30,000 in revenue on Airbnb, which is one of the platforms that we use for our short-term rental business. And we use many platforms, but that's the one that it does very well in this area. And so this property is now part of our portfolio. So a couple things that I learned early on in my career. First is cash flow trumps net worth. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of wealth and they have a lot of equity in their properties. And they have a lot of equity in the stock market or a 401k or an IRA, but they don't have cash flow that can replace or trade their time for dollar income. So in my business as a real estate investor, I focus on doing both, right? Both types of investing. So this is a cash flow deal, right? And this property with 2 units in it will generate between $60,000 and $80,000 a year in revenue, which is actually more than I ever made full time working. So this is why this is one of my favorite types of strategies that we have. And then this real estate deal here, this is a property that we acquired subject to, and this is the house here. It's at North and Spalding in Chicago. And the interesting thing about this property is that it sold for 419,000 back in 2014, and it had just been gut rehabbed. So when I met the owner of this property, they were in financial situation, and this was an opportunity for us to take this mortgage over and not have to raise our capital for it. So I think one of the most important things as we learn about the various strategies in real estate, the fundamental thing to learn is how do I provide value to the person that's in trouble? See, if my participation in the real estate deal doesn't actually help the real estate deal, then it doesn't make sense for me to participate in it. So in real estate, we create win-win-win scenarios. What was the benefit to the person that owned this property right? What was the benefit to her? Well, because of being able to take over the mortgage, I didn't have to raise the capital. Because I didn't have to raise the capital to buy the house that she owed about $415,000 on. She had refinanced it at one point after 2014. So she owed 415. If I would have had to raise the 415 and just say I was going to have to pay average investor rates of 2 points and 12%, my cost of financing would have been over $30,000. Because I didn't have to do that, I was able to take her mortgage over. I just saved over $30,000, $35,000 in financing cost. What was I able to do for the seller? I was able to give her money. So we were able to give the seller $45,000 because of her allowing us to take the mortgage over. If I wouldn't have been able to take over the mortgage, it wouldn't have been a real estate deal. It wouldn't have made sense financially for us to do it. Now, when we took over the mortgage and we gave her the money, we took possession of the house, we started the rehab project. We discovered that some of the work that was done by the previous rehabber back in 2014 wasn't very good. And so we decided to do a higher level rehab on this property. So we originally thought that we were going to do a quick in and out and sell the property for 650. Now we have changed the scope of our rehab project, which is actually being worked on today. I'm very grateful for our team, guys that are down there today working on the house. But now you can see the AVM is 808,000. So with a proper rehab, this property is worth 800,000, and it is down right literally two doors over from three properties that were built that sold for 985. Now these houses were built brand new. This one is not. It's been rehabbed. So I can't use these as exact comps since these are new houses, but is it reasonable that a house that's the same square footage with the same number of bedrooms and the same number of bathrooms, right, that's beautifully brand new rehab, is it reasonable that we'll get 800 for it? That's reasonable. And so we took over the mortgage for 415, right? We have invested about $130,000 into its rehab, including its carrying cost and keeping up with the catching the mortgage up. We have expanded our investment into rehab a little bit more, so we'll end up with about 600,000, between 590 and 600,000 into the property. That will then be sold for around 800,000, and I'm going to have costs and fees and different things that we need to take out of that profitability, but is absolutely a real estate deal that has a six-figure plus profit potential in it, if we get our sale price or anything near it. So this is another deal that we did in June of this year. Another really interesting thing that we did was the seller of one of the properties that we bought, she was going to be homeless if she didn't find a place to live. So what we did was we actually bought a home for her that allowed her to reduce her expenses over $1,000 a month. And now she's lease optioning that property from us. And there's a class in our curriculum called Teaming Up with Tenants. One of my favorite classes and favorite instructors in this community, that helped us understand I could save somebody from foreclosure and buy them a house and make money doing both of it, and help somebody that was in a real dire situation. So again, being a real estate investor is about making a difference, helping people, helping solve their problems, and being creative in doing that. The other interesting aspect is how we raise the capital, right? Because we raised the capital to buy the second home and rehab the first home. And when I had a conversation with the person that we raised the capital from, right, this was their exact words. These are the types of real estate deals that really touch our heart. The opportunity to lend money on a program that's going to help make a difference in somebody's life. And secondly, thank you for using our money, because we did a really great job of building a business, and now we have a new problem. We have so much cash that comes into our business that we need to find something to do with it, and sticking it in a savings account making 1% doesn't make a lot of sense. So for the person that we raised the capital from, they're getting a 10% return on their money, right? Which helped us create $170,000 in equity in a property. So they win, we win, and now the homeowner has a new home that they live in that they will own free and clear in the next 10 years because of our lease option strategies that we employed. So when you start to understand real estate investing, right, that slide on becoming a transactional engineer is really important because we take a step back and we take a 30,000-foot view and we're able to see where the opportunities lie to be the orchestrator of getting a real estate deal done and a real estate deal solved.
Hey,
So
Bob.
yeah,
Yeah, I got a couple quick questions that were typed in the chat room. This would be a good time to ask those. So, who owns the deed and title on a subject to?
the homeowner still owns the deed and title on a subject to, right? We have a contract that allows us to buy that property in so much time, right? So in this particular case, it is a 5-year period that we have up to 5 years to get that deal closed and sold, right? So we don't want to leave the existing financing in place forever, but the opportunity to have a 3.25% mortgage or a 5% mortgage, I want to keep that mortgage in place as long as we can, right? So it's called a contract for deed, and that's actually a class that we have within our curriculum that we have the right to get that deal closed anytime we want, and that's in writing and under contract, and that is held in escrow at the attorney's office. So that's something that can
Excellent.
be exercised at any time.
And what are your thoughts on buy and hold when you're doing subject to properties? Obviously, it's all about the numbers.
It's all about the numbers, A, and B, is it going to hurt the seller by leaving that existing financing in place? Right? Well, if I'm late on the mortgage, then yes, it would hurt the seller. So I need to make sure that I'm in a position to never be late on the mortgage if I take that mortgage over. Number two, right? What can I do for them to help them say, yes, I would like to leave this existing financing in place? See, if I'm paying that mortgage and it's being paid on time, that actually helps them, right? Because it helps their credit. Now, can they buy another house? Right? Not necessarily because they have a mortgage in place. They may not qualify for a second mortgage. So these are things that I need to concern myself with if I'm going to be in that world of subject to, because I want to make sure that my participation in that real estate deal doesn't hurt the homeowner. So in both cases, right, in both the two subject twos that we did this year, both cases, it was in the homeowner's best interest. They benefited greatly by our taking over their mortgage. And that was why we chose that particular strategy. And as a real estate investor, to be able to get a property with an existing financing in place, we didn't have to have our credit checked. We didn't have to qualify for a mortgage. We didn't have to come up with the down payment. Right? All of the wins are big for that particular strategy.
And if I could add to that, Bob, we're starting to see a lot of deals come out or come available that where folks have equity in their property, but because of what happened during COVID and so forth, they fell behind. And it gives us an opportunity as investors to solve their problem. In a lot of cases, we can catch their loan up and make their payments for them for that 5-year period, like you said, which really helps that person out.
Yeah, and people trade peace of mind for equity, right? Especially if they can't do anything with it. And in this case of this house needed rehab, right? It was in rougher shape than you would think for a house that had been rehabbed only 10 years ago. And there was whatever issues happened to the property to have it in the condition it was in. And that's a very common thing, right? People go through all kinds of things in life that have their houses be neglected. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they don't have the expertise. And unfortunately, in this particular case, the owner of the property's husband passed away. And, there was just nobody there to take care of the things that used to be. And so these are very real situations, right? How do we come in and provide value in a way that the homeowner of that property is very grateful that we have come in and helped solve their problem? And so, and then the next deal I want to talk about is actually one of the deals I'm the most excited about in my entire life, and that is the opportunity to work with another one of our community members, a dear friend and somebody I've known for since 2009, right? So 15 years. We are actually on a radio show together called Real Estate on Radio. And Nathan has been he's done well over 300 real estate deals in his career, fix and flips. He's done a lot of distressed property, a lot of gut rehabs. Got into building spec homes. Has built many homes in the eight, 900,000 $1 million, $1.2 million range in all the nicest suburbs in Chicagoland. And this property that you're seeing is a property that has been being worked on for over a year. And the story goes that in 2004, this land was bought by a developer, and they put in the streets and they put in the sign, the sewer, the electric, and all the things. And what's interesting about this land is that it's a when they designed it, they said we want to conserve the plant life, we want to conserve the animals. You can see that there's lots of lakes and grassy areas and different things, and so um, part of that preservation of all of the ponds and lakes and all the wildlife and the geese in the summertime. It's amazing to just see all the wildlife that's in here. But part of that was the houses themselves couldn't have septic fields, and it was too far away from city to get city water or sewer. So what they did was they built a Schaefer system, which is what we're seeing here, which is a basically a treatment plant that they build on the land, and they kind of hid it behind the tree line here, so it's kind of out of the
Mhm.
way. And that was a very expensive solution, but it allowed the developer to get to get it approved, right? Because they needed to do that. So the developer built 25 houses, right? And the crash of 2008 took it down, right? This whole thing went bankrupt, and because it went bankrupt, the um the HOA, which was formed by the owners that live here, they created a homeowners association that now had no choice but to sue the developer, and they did, and they won the land. So now you've got this HOA that owns all this land. Well, they're not home builders and they're not developers. And they started shopping around to other home builders and developers. And the big boys wanted to bulldoze it. They said, we're not going to deal with the conservation. If we're going to come in here and build, we're going to bulldoze everything. We're not going to follow the guidelines. And that's the only way we're going to do it. And they went through 8 to 10 different major developers, and all the names that you hear, all the multi-million-dollar guys were not willing to deal with what the covenant said. And so what happened in that world was that it created an opportunity for somebody like Nathan and our team to come in and actually build houses, because we were willing to say yes to what the HOA wanted, which is they want their land to be as beautiful when it's finished as it is now. You can see, how peaceful and beautiful this is. It's one of the most peaceful uh, properties that we've ever seen. So, in designing the real estate deal, um, we were able to negotiate being able to buy the lots as they were sold, and got a contract to have the right to build 57 homes on this lot. The original development was 144. The HOA has changed some of the things that they've done in order to get this property the way that they want it, but they cannot afford to not build the houses, right? Because all this land sits there, all these empty lots sit there. So it's been such a fun project to be a part of, and I'll just click on the about here, and this is Nathan, and then Raphael is our construction manager, extremely talented guy, and my wife and I are now partners in this property and in this project. And so what we decided to do was we decided to build a model home. So this home here is one of the most popular. It starts at 2260 square feet. We've expanded our model home a little bit. We're going to be at about 2600. But this became the most popular home in the subdivision. A couple of their covenants say that they have to be ranches. They can't have basements that are walkout. So we have 9 foot ceilings in the basement, which makes a beautiful, nice lower level. A lot of the profitability in building homes is in the upgrades. So a $650,000 house will cost approximately $480,000 to build, and then we can have upgrades from there. So if somebody wants a finished basement, right, it's a great time to do it before they move into it. One of the things that we chose in our model home as we were designing it, we had the option to have a staircase that goes from inside the garage into the basement, and that goes into the utility room that could have a little shop or shelving or workshop or whatever. And of course, you have five guys standing around the plans with the architect saying, "Yes, I would like a staircase from my garage into my basement into my shop." That would be really cool. Um, so we broke ground on this about a month ago. We put in the culvert, which is the tube that the trucks drive over to build the hole, and we were able to we were able to get that started. And then we have another model home, which is called the Elizabethan, and that property is the first property that we sold. And interestingly, the very first property that we sold was sold for $921,000. So, which is exciting for us as the builders, because what it does is it sets precedents. And if we can start the development with the highest level and nicest homes, right, other people that drive through this subdivision are going to see that beautiful $900,000 home being built, and say, you know what, I want to live here too. So we might end up, right, building a lot higher level homes, because we had expected our homes to be between 550,000 and 750,000. We thought that was going to be about the sweet spot. And you have people that come in and they see, they see these lakes, and the very first lot that was bought by the person that spent the 921 is actually right here. So this lot was sold, and now they have a lake in their backyard, right? So imagine having a beautiful home right here, and you can't tell how big these lots really are from this aerial view, but they're quite substantial. So full acre lots, we've got acre, three-quarters acre, half acre, and third of an acre lots that are available in the subdivision. And then you can see around the subdivision, there's a lot of land, and you see where the streets just end, right? And they put little turnarounds here. So another thing that we were able to negotiate as part of our negotiations in buying this property was the rights to buy the adjacent property. So as this development gets built out and becomes very popular, right? We have now the rights to buy the land that is next to it, that we could then develop the roads and the properties in that. And then we've already had conversation with another landowner who owns another huge plot of farmland next to this lot that has already said, when you guys are ready to buy, to give us a call. So a couple interesting things in the way that we are financing this property. The first thing that we're doing is we're raising capital to build a model home in exchange for a revenue share of the home building project. Why are we structuring this way? If we borrowed money to build the model home, we'd have a mortgage, right? We can get a construction loan to build it, but the construction loan company is going to not hold that note or hold that paper for the next 5 to 7 years as we use the model home. So instead, we said, okay, well, what would be beneficial to us is to not have mortgage payments on the note that would own the model home, because now I have to have, and you're talking about a mortgage on a $650,000 house, that's a substantial mortgage payment. So instead of having the mortgage, we said, okay, we'll do a revenue share, right? So we are in the process right now of raising the capital to build the model home, which will then enable the investor to be a part of the profit share of this development moving forward. And, and that could be for the next 5 to 7 years. So as a real estate investor, right, how do we make it in other people's best interest to be a part of our deals, right? And I think that's one of the most important thing, right? I used to think like money is going to be the hard part, right? How do I raise capital if I don't qualify? How do I get how do I qualify for a mortgage, or how do I save up enough money for a down payment? Because that's the way retail real estate investors thinks, right? When we get into the world of investing, there's so many ways that we can be creative, and so many ways that we can to get into doing real estate deals that that make it in everybody's best interest to do it. You would think, oh, am I asking somebody to do me a favor by lending me money? Guys, when we're able to pay out an 8 or 10 or 12% return and have security. So for example, of our real estate deal here with this land deal, the investors that invest into the model home are going to have a first position mortgage on the property, right? And the property that will cost 480,000 to build will be worth $650,000 when it's finished, right? And that's already proven by our comps and our comparables and everything that we have. So if I can offer an investor a security instrument and a first position mortgage on a property to secure their money, and I can offer them a revenue share of a real estate deal that will make many seven figures, right? And I'm not going to get into all the details of the profitability of this. I know this is being recorded, and just this, there's some things that are proprietary that we need to have people sign non-disclosure agreements to be able to get the access to that information. But a real estate deal like this, if I can offer an investor security, and I can offer them a rate of return that is right secured in a better way than the stock market. And I know that the stock market has broken record after record after record after record after record, and people have made a lot of money. But I'm 55 years old, right? I know that those of you that are young haven't seen the stock market crash as many times as I have in my life. But people that have made a lot of money in the stock market are looking for opportunities to diversify their portfolio, right? And real estate is a wonderful hedge against that, because I can buy a property, and if I can buy a property and have a note secured for 480,000 on a house that's worth at this in this market 650, and it could go up from there, right? That's a safe place to harbor 480,000 and have the ability to get it back. If I have $480,000 sitting in stocks, and something happens to the stock market, the value of my $480,000 decreases, right? And we know many, many people over the years that have watched their 401k become a 201k, right? Or even a 101k. I know somebody that lost three-quarters of their life savings in the stock market when, the tech stock thing crashed. So when we are raising capital for deals, right, we learn through our private and hard money classes and our private placement memorandum classes and the other ways that we learn on how to honestly, ethically raise capital. We learn how to protect people's money, and we also learn how to create returns and create opportunity for people that is very valuable. So I'm really excited about this experience. I dreamed of building houses when I was in my early 20s, and I was doing a lot of restoration work and historical restoration. But this was something that I'm very excited about. And then the other thing that I'll share, and if you guys have any questions for me, I know we've got about 20 minutes left in this, so I'm certainly happy to dig in and answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, Bob, there are some. There's a couple of them in there. One is about liability. What's their liability of having a walkout basement? So that was kind of one of them that came through. But I think you said HOA didn't want to have it.
So what's the liability of having a walkout basement?
Yeah.
So the architect and the engineers, they have the ground graded in a way and the drainage created in a way that makes that a possibility. So we have an engineering company and an architecture firm that is in charge of all of that, and then we are given a an occupancy permit. And if you notice, right, if you notice this land is been built up, right? And so there is a natural drainage that happens in this land. And then they have all these pools and ponds that are low that can handle, massive rainstorms. You can see how low the water is compared to the house. So a lot of that, and this particular house that we're looking at happens to have a walkout basement. So the bottom of the basement is substantially higher than the level of the water. right? Which is engineered in the building of that.
That's awesome. Another one came through was like, who owns the 50 plus lots? Like that was one of the questions that
The
came through.
homeowners association owns the lots.
Ah,
And the reason they own the lots is because they won them in a lawsuit. And that lawsuit took it was like an 8-year ordeal that they went through. So
okay.
we now I've been to the homeowners association meetings, myself and Nathan and the team, right, to make sure that we're there. They can see our faces. We are involved in this community because this community has been through hell, right? Imagine the builder going bankrupt and not being able to build the houses, right? Imagine the drama of that over the last 20 years that they've dealt with. So they were very concerned that a builder was going to come in and take over and take over the rules and the laws and the things that they created. So a lot of the builders were like, we're not going to deal with your conservation ordinance, and we're not going to deal with the HOA rules, right? We're out. So that creates a huge opportunity for those of us that are willing. So one of the touching moments for me was at the HOA meeting, and a few of the homeowners that are the original buyers of homes in this subdivision, they literally stood up and said, "We just want you to know how grateful we are. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to take this on." And I give a lot of props to our team. Watching Nathan stand up and speak to the HOA and just how he's handling them and how we are caring about the result of this. And that's why we're taking our time and we're making sure that we do a good job and answer all their concerns. So we're definitely going to be doing property tours here. This is something that I'm excited to share with our community. And you know, there's going to be lots of opportunity that comes along with this for a lot of people as we share. And you saw that, Nathan asked me what my title was going to be, and I'm like, you come up with one. He came up with chief consultant. But how do you learn enough about real estate to become knowledgeable to be a consultant and help people that are doing developments like these? As the value of the education that Renatus created is there's so much more value than I have the capacity to explain. I mean, I made more than the investment in my education on my first real estate deal. My second real estate deal was a 16-day remodeling project that we made $70,000 on. I would have made 3 grand as an investor. I never made $70,000 in a year as a contractor working 60 hours a week. So the value of what you're seeing and the people that are involved with this community, one of the things that I love about them is they're legit, right? They're actually doing this stuff for real. So make sure that you get back with who invited you here and tell me you want more information.
Right. Yeah, and Bob, I know you got some more information you want to share, and I do appreciate it. I just want to remind everybody who's on tonight or today, if just get in contact with the person who invited you to this meeting, because right after this, there is another meeting that talks about what Bob is talking about. And if you can't make it today, because we understand, just get back with the person who invited you, and they will get you to the next meeting so you can get more information like Bob is talking about as he kind of showed us more information. I know there's more questions in chat, but we're going to let Bob continue on because he has a lot more he wants to share with us. And
I just wanted to share one more of my
oh, one
favorite,
more. Okay, all right. Let me let you go ahead and do that.
one more of my favorite real estate deals of my entire life. So, one of the people that I brought into this community back in 2008, has been with us forever. His name is Randy Pertler. Randy started doing short-term rental properties, and he got into doing luxury short-term rentals. And so this is gonna. I've been having trouble with Chrome. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. Let me go here. Um, all right, go here. Book memory. Let's see if okay. Maybe it's my internet connection. I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this property is in McHenry, Illinois, and it was right next to a horse farm, and this house was on the market for a long time, wasn't sold, and we bought it for $810,000. So this house was bought for 810, and in its first year as a short-term rental, it made 319,000. Well, as a regular rental, if we would have just rented it out as a regular property and not furnished it, it would have made about $5,000 or $6,000 a month. That's about its unfurnished rental revenue income. And after expenses, it wouldn't have made any money. So it's not a good rental property if you pay retail price for a house like this. Now, if they could have got it at a discount, that's a different story. But furnishing it and renting this property out, right, with all of its pool and everything else, it made 319,000 its first year, which generated 120,000 a year of net profit. So as a regular rental, it didn't work as a deal. As a short-term rental, it created 120,000 a year. Guys, that's $10,000 a month in net profit. So because this property did so well, um, they decided to do it again. And then there's many properties now that are owned and on this website, but this property is one that a year ago, Randy called me and said, "Hey, would you like to be a partner on this real estate deal?" Guys, this is a 12,000 square foot house on 9.2 acres that was bought for $1,325,000. Why is that significant? Because it cost $4.4 million to build it. So you're asking yourself, well, how in the heck did you buy a house that cost $4.4 million to build for $1.3 million? The answer, it was built on a farm. So you can't see that in this picture. But there's a barn right here. You see this driveway? This goes to a huge barn, which is literally right next to the house. Now, obviously, we keep it out of our pictures for a reason, but there is a massive barn here, and there's silos. And I'm talking about grain elevator silos with a big elevator that goes up to the top, and they're huge, massive, and there's 3 of them over here. So this is an entire farm. The builder of this house was the farmer. So the farmer built the house. Well, guess what? People that have money to buy houses like this said, "Well, I'm not a farmer. I don't want to live on the farm." And now we have ideas to build a line of trees and, shroud our farm implement. It was over 300-acre farm. So what they did was they drew a line and sold this property off at 9.2 acres. This property in the last 12 months has been rented for weddings and all kinds of different things. And these pools were built by Barrington Pools, a huge pool outfit here in Chicagoland. I called them and asked them how much it cost to build these. They said over $400,000 was invested to build the 2 pools with the waterfall and the hot tub. So do the people that come to stay here, that get to stay at this mansion for a weekend or a week for a wedding or whatever, do they care that there's a barn next door? They get to stay in a mansion, right? And this property, its best month has made over $86,000 in 1 month. And in the last 12 months has generated about $360,000. So this is our Book of Memory site and our little tagline: don't just book a house, book a memory, and create unforgettable experiences. So guys, Renatus, right? Our real estate investment training curriculum helps people go from never having done a real estate deal in their life or even understanding how real estate actually works to building legitimate, honest real estate investment companies that not only make a difference in our lives as investors, but make a difference in all the lives that we get the chance to touch. So anyway, that's another one of our favorite websites. And the latest property that was just bought by Book of Memory. Of course, my internet's not cooperating. Anyway, it's in Texas, and it has a swimming pool the shape of Texas. So if you see this property right here, that's a Texas swimming pool in a massive house that's in Texas that is right next to a wedding venue. And the wedding venue is now advertising the short-term rental to be used by people who book their weddings with the wedding venue. It's literally within walking distance of the wedding venue. You can see it from the aerial photos, which is pretty cool. So
That's amazing.
no shortage of being creative, right?
Mhm.
Which is pretty cool. So we have some more questions. I'm happy to answer.
Well, Bob, we want to definitely make sure that we leave here a few minutes. We're about 8 minutes to the top of the hour. Again, I want to remind everybody, if you're on today as a guest and you're checking out our community, real estate investing itself, and you'd like to learn more about our community and more about a lot of the things that Bob has talked about today, the investor operating software system that he kind of briefly talked about earlier, that he uses to run his business, things like that. We do have an intro to our community, kind of an overview right after this today. And it's at a different link. So you need to get back to who invited you and they can get you set up and get that link. And if you can't make it, like he said today, and you want to do it on a different day or attend something else in our community, they can get you plugged in. But Bob, kind of wrapping things up for the day. Again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing your wisdom, sharing, what you've been up to and your passion for this business. It's very obvious how passionate you're about the business, about our community. What would you like to leave people with who are maybe, guests today, kind of checking this community out, trying to figure out, do they want to be a part of what we're doing, what you're doing, what I'm doing, what Keith's doing, and so many other thousands of investors who are part of our community nationally. How would you like to leave everybody? What kind of words would you like to say or leave everybody with?
Well, I'm going to share the most profound conversation of my life. And that was the guy that invited me to my first real estate workshop. I had been doing construction for 18 years at the time. And he looked me right in my eye and he said, Bob, you're a brilliant man. You have to be able to rehab houses the way that you do and run construction crews. You're easily a $500,000 or more a year guy. Now, at the time, my best year of my life was 60 grand. My average was between 40 and 50. So when he said that to me, I'm like, all right, I'm coachable. He said, here's the secret. If you want to make a $500,000 a year, you have to quit making 70,000 bucks a year because the 70,000 bucks a year that you're making is taking up your time. You need to quit your job. You need to buy your time back. You're wasting your time. And I said, Chad, my daughter is 15 years old. I can't quit my job. He said, I don't want you to quit it yet, but I want you to start adding revenue streams to your life that do not require that you trade your time for them, right? You got to have leverage in your life. You got to have leveraged income, right? Today, as I'm on this webinar with you, there's a team of people rehabbing a house, right? That's right. Revenue that's coming into our life and our business that I'm not there trading my time for currently. Right. Today we have tenants in our short-term rental properties. In fact, yesterday we just got paid from Airbnb $860, right? I love Airbnb. So I have tenants in our properties that are paying us to rent them that are providing cash flow. And there's many, many ways that you can change your life by building and creating revenue streams. And then he said this, he goes, you know what the best thing in going for you? And I'm like, what's that? He goes, you make less than 70 grand a year. It's just not that much money. It's just not that hard to replace that income. And I met him in January of 2006. I quit my job in December of 2006. I went from never making 70,000 in a year in my life to having two almost $500,000 years in a row because of allowing somebody to guide me, right? Allowing somebody to mentor me. It's one of the reasons I'm here today, right? Somebody helped me, somebody guided me. I don't get paid to be here. I volunteer my time to do this because hopefully this conversation will make a difference. It's very simple, right? All I need to do is learn how to create revenue streams. And if I can have multiple revenue streams, I can't have that money taken away from me. That was the biggest thing that happened in my life is I got laid off from a really great job. And I had an epiphany that job security is an oxymoron. And as time moves forward, our price is going to go up or down, right? We see inflation has been crazy. So instead of living in scarcity, how do we build more revenue streams? How do we create more wealth for ourselves? And I said earlier that net worth, right? That cash flow trumps net worth, right? How long would it take me, right? I need about $3.5 million to pay myself $10,000 a month in retirement. Right? Am I going to be able to save up $3.5 million in my lifetime? 95% of Americans never do. Right? It's a fool's game saving for retirement. So what's the solution? The solution is cash flow. How long does it take to build a short-term rental business that generates $10,000 a month? right? If I can do that in a couple years, a few years, whatever it takes, and I can maintain that revenue for the next 20 years, is that the same as saving up $3.5 million? No, it's fantastically better than saving up 3.5 million. If I save up $3.5 million and I spend it over 20 years, guess what I have left? I have nothing left. But if I build a business that creates 20 or $10,000 a month in net positive cash flow, what do I have in 20 years? I still have a business that still generates cash flow. And it's a lot more likely that that cash flow number will be a lot higher because of inflation, because of equity pay, the ability to pay my houses off and everything else. So I'm so grateful, right, that somebody invited me to the intro that's starting next. All right, a couple other questions. You mentioned Airbnbs. You use a property management company to manage those. My wife and I manage our own for now, and the ones that we own personally, and then we have a team of people that manage the larger ones. How was the opportunity discovered? It's really interesting on how getting into the industry, right? You start hearing about things over and over and over again. Opportunity comes, right? Build yourself a reputation of somebody that gets real estate deals done. How do you finance each home construction moving forward? We get a 10% down payment from the buyer of the house, right? Which still goes into escrow. Then the lender comes in and lends the money and a construction mortgage or a note to build the house. Then that note's paid back upon the closing of the finished property. Uh, you're welcome. How do you get started to create those revenue streams? Dave, I took 20 days of training, 20 days. You can get through that in a month, right? I say this a lot all the time, right? People get vacation time, right? If you took a vacation, your vacation time from work, and you actually took that week or 2 weeks and you studied real estate investing so that you could learn how to never have to ask for a vacation again for the rest of your life, would that be worth it? Take your vacation time to invest in yourself so that you don't have to be told when or if you can take one or not. All right. Thank you, everybody. And Scott, thank you. Keith, thank you. LaShawn, all right, everybody, Ash, right, Maya, thank you for your heart, for your love that you pour into this community, for supporting us, for always being here each and every Saturday to showcase amazing people in this community, guys. And I'm a small fish, man, compared to these people in this community that I'm so inspired by. And it's an honor and privilege to be here. So thank you for allowing me today.
Well, Bob, thank you for just being here and just taking your time out to share with us. I mean, you talked about the learning, you talked about the community, and you even talked about the mindset of moving forward. As we're closing out 2024, hopefully somebody took something today that will encapsulate so they can move forward in 2025. But guess what? You don't have to wait until 2025. I know it's right around the corner, but you can still take action today. And everything that I was hearing, Bob was taking action. So I sure do thank you for sharing that. And Scott, man, you just don't understand how much I appreciate you for putting this together. I mean, the end of 2024, weekend after weekend, doing this, investors are sharing. This is live. This is real stuff. This is not HGTV. We went and cut it up and no, this is real people doing real stuff today. And you had the vision to put this together. You connected with Bob. Again, I just wanted to just thank y'all for doing it because if it wasn't for y'all doing stuff like this, I absorbed the information and we're doing it too. And so I like things that are repeatable and duplicatable and
Mhm.
it can be done. And y'all both, Bob, Scott, y'all had shared that. And so as we about to close out 2024, we got an awesome venue for 2025. There's a lot of good things to come in, but I don't want to share all of that. I know Scott, I want to turn it over to you as we close this out. And again, I
You
want
know,
to appreciate you for putting this together.
and the one thing I want to mention, I've been with this group 19 years in January. Never in our history have we had a special offer and a discount on our education system. That is something that was offered this month and that ends on December 31st. So, all right, no pressure at all, but I've never been able to offer an opportunity for a discount before. So just find out, right? Get back with who invited you here and say, you know what? Just give me the give me the lowdown, right? What is it going to take? And if you need any support or help, Scott, Keith, right? Many people on this have me on in their phone, have me on speed dial. I'm certainly willing to support. If I have any questions that I can answer for you. I'm here to support you.
Well, Bob, this has been a fantastic property. What better? There's no better way that we could have wrapped up 2024 than having you out today just to share your wisdom and just so positive and so energetic. And Keith, you said you don't need to start and wait till 2025. We don't need to wait till January 1st, 2025. We can start taking action today. I think being a part of today's property tour is part of that action, and just getting involved, taking action, and moving forward. So, guys, I want to wrap up today's tour. Thank you very much. Everybody have a blessed new year and a great 2025. We'll see you next Saturday with another fantastic property tour. And so for now, God bless everybody and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Scott. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy New Year.